Cool. This is going to be interactive. Please interrupt me at any time about anything I'm talking about. This is going to be pretty much all demo. We're going to have a surprise in the middle where I'm going to find out if you want me to stop presenting on what I'm talking about and you want me to switch gears. There's a lot of different ways we can take this presentation. The other one is I would love if your cameras are on. I could see all of you right here. So if you're comfortable having your camera on, it's awesome for me because I know how you're responding to stuff. So Kayla, Mark, Aiden, Jamie, JP, I really appreciate it. My goal is to hold your attention for 45 minutes. I think there's a lot of valuable stuff here and we're going to move quickly. So we'll see. You'll be the judge of that. To get this going and to prove how interactive this is going to be, I would love to know your Power Automate skills. So if you can all self-rank and please put this number in the chat. You have one of 4 numbers to put in the chat. The first one is you could do a 4, which means you're really good at Power Automate. Put a 4. If you're really good at Power Automate, but you have imposter syndrome because you're part of being alive in this century, then go ahead and put a 3. And then give me a 2 if you've done some stuff with it. And then give me a 1 if you're kind of like new, you haven't done a lot with it yet. All right, cool. So we're a little across the board, and then awesome. JP, you can help me present some of this stuff. All right. So I'm going to show you some tips to speed up your flows, to stop kind of bottlenecks. And really, there are some issues that you can run into if your flows run too slow. For instance, trivia question, if you connect Canvas apps to Power Automate, how long can it run? Does anyone know that off the top of their head? You got a time limit. All right. So the answer is you have 2 minutes. Your flow better be done in 2 minutes, or it's not gonna complete. Canvas app for some reason is impatient. The other one is I love when flows run fast because I get to go home early. So let's jump into it. This examples are all going to be about a fake outdoor adventures company. And the first issue we're going to look into is this, which is we want to make sure that all our instructors are valid still. Every night, we're going to have a job. And that job is going to go and let me bring up the actual demo area. Cool. Every single night, we're going to have a job that's going to come on here and look at all of our instructors. Because if JP is a scuba diving instructor, we want to make sure that he still has that certification. You don't want him teaching it if he doesn't know how to do it anymore. So we have that running every night. And what that looks like is this. It runs, it gets all the instructors, and I'll zoom in more because I don't know how small your computers are. And then the next thing it does is it checks their credentials with this child flow. And at the very end, we send an email. Here are the total number of invalid instructors. Here's the first person's name. Okay? So every night, go and check our instructors. And this child flow right here that we pass into right here, this is where already things can start to get optimized a little more. So the first thing we do is we pass all our instructors into here, and then we go and check if they still work at the company, and then we check if their license is still valid. All right, let's pause for a second here. We have an HTTP action, and then we have another HTTP action. These don't really depend on each other. So we actually have an awesome opportunity already to make this run even faster. Does anyone know what it is? Anybody want to raise their hand and say, how can we make this run a little bit faster? Who wants to bravely come off of it? Thank you so much, JP, for raising your hand physically. And I appreciate Aiden and Jamie for raising your hand virtually. I'll call on you next. JP, please.
You could make it run parallel to each other.
Exactly. We could come down here. We click on Add Parallel Branch, pick any of these we want. It doesn't matter because I'm just going to delete this in a second. And then we drag ours out here, just like JP said. We're going to ditch this one. And then we come into here, because this looks awkward. If we come in here into settings, there's a special button where we can select this other action too. So I select that, and boom. Thanks to JP, we just saved ourselves like 2 seconds. So awesome, we did it. All right, let's keep this going. So we have all our credentials here, and then at the very end, we're gonna loop all of our instructors. So one at a time, we're gonna loop them, and we're going to go and create this new object. We're going to get the instructor's name. We're going to find out how many years they've been at the company, and then we're going to get their credential status. Now, if this looks like a trivial, simple example, don't worry. This is going to slowly get trickier. So this is fine. This totally works with this looping. And if you want to know what this actually looks like, I'll show you what the outputs are. So if we come down here and we zoom in a little bit, here's one of, well, let's start at the very top of the food chain. So when this begins, we get our instructors, and our instructors, oh, I have to click this download button. That's annoying. All right. If we zoom in, they look like this. We have our instructor's name, SQL ID, their age, years at the company. That's what our data looks like. All right. And then the next thing we're going to do when we come down here is in our child flow, we pretty much recreated. Oh, that's a poor example. Let's go to the next one. All right. We have our instructor's name, years at the company, and then their credential status. So it's just this. We're taking this, and then we're creating this new object here, and it looks like that. All right. This works. This is fine. Here's the thing. Without getting fancy, who can tell me how could this run faster? And let me kind of point out something that I think is just an important concept before is this. Anytime you see loops, you should be careful. There probably is a much faster way to do it than a loop. We're going to get there in a second, but first let's start simple. In here, we're going to keep using this loop. How can we make this loop run quicker? What's just a quicker way to do it without really doing many changes at all? Aiden.
Change the parallel settings.
Thank you. Exactly. If we come up here into settings, we can turn on this button called concurrency, and we crank it up to 50 at a time. Boom. Thanks to Aiden, this is running like 50 times faster. I will warn you, when you start using HTTP actions inside of here, it gets very weird with the number 50. It prefers the number 45. You will learn that yourself if you try to do that. But yeah, exactly. Thanks to Aiden, this is working a lot faster. Awesome. It's the same concept we just discussed right here. This is concurrency. It's the same concept. Aiden just applied it to our apply to each. All right, awesome. So this is fun, but as you saw me say, the loops are caution signs. You should try to avoid them if you can. So all of my more advanced Power Automate people, is there any way we can do something like this where we run this apply to each, we do this append variable, and then at the very bottom, we put it right here. Is there any faster way we can do that than what we have than this? Does anybody know what that action is? Mark.
Actually, you said I could interrupt and back up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When do you ever want that parallel slider all the way over to the left? I mean, what's the default setting? Shouldn't it always be cranked up?
Fantastic question. Mark, I hope you're patient. Can I answer your question in 40 minutes? It comes at the end. I have like a beautiful, so perfect demo for your question. It's just in 40 minutes. All right. Please don't, but hold that thought. We'll come back to it. All right.
Okay.
Any of my Power Automate people, a faster way than just, how can we just really avoid this entire loop altogether? Anyone know? JP? I know you know stuff. Are you just being shy? All right, Jamie.
I don't know for sure, but something to do with batch of some kind? Maybe?
Yeah. There is a kind of batch we can use. It's probably, to me, the most powerful action all Power Automate. It has a batch-like feature. It's called select. If we come in here and hit select, and then we go in here, and we're going to go select the source being the instructors that came in here. So if I come in here and hit S, and then let me just go select them. Where are they? Instructors. Cool. And then I'm going to go in here and hit add. Okay, that's step one. And we're going to say that this is no loop needed. Thanks, Jamie. And then in here, I'm going to literally recreate this same nonsense here. So I'm going to take TOT name and put TOT name. And then I'm going to go into here, and then I have to, it gets a little weird when I click into here. I have to do this. I go in the expression, I type in item. Item just means select an individual item in this collection or variable. So I'm going to go in here and select TOT name. If you're wondering how I know that it's called TOT name, if we go back here, it's because it's like that. That's how I know this. And then here, I can just kind of keep going on that and keep copying them over. And kind of like a cooking show, we're going to speed this up so you don't have to deal with it. But we're going to go into here. I'm going to show you one more. And that is, where is it? Credential status. Cool. There. All right. Well, let's save this. And because demos are fun live, we're going to go and run this right here. And we're going to see if this does the exact same thing. So come on, finish. Okay, great. It's saved. It finished. I'm going to rerun this. And we're gonna compare the times. We're gonna compare the for loop times. So look at this. We're already faster. This thing is still running, taking its time. So this took 2 seconds to run 6. This took 0 seconds, thanks to Jamie. And if we come down here, our data looked like this when we got it. And the final output is like this. Look at that. And I'm going to take this and, oh, I can't screenshot this. Hold on a second. I do have a tool that will let me screenshot this to make it a lot easier so we can see what we're talking about. All right. Let me snag that. There we go. And I'm going to put this over here. So this is what the select does. And then if we look over here, the append to array variable, it's look, exact same thing. Only difference is I didn't include this property, but I could add that. So right away, we just saved ourselves. Let's like do the math here. It took for 6 records, 2 seconds. Imagine if you have hundreds, this would take a ton of time versus this select, kind of like the batch concept that Jamie mentioned. This is going to almost always take 0 seconds. Like we just saved ourselves potentially minutes here. So that's unreal helpful. There is a problem here though. So as much as I just glorified this, let's check something out here. So I'm going to go to my final results, and we are not going to output the variable. We're going to output the thing Jamie said. So the faster than a loop, it's the same thing. Let me select that. And let's go back up here and rerun this. And this is now the parent flow. The one that called our child credential status, the parent flow is now calling this. And we're going to, hopefully this will all work. Great. And we come to the bottom. Great. The first instructor's name is Ahmed. There are a total of 6. Okay. This seems great. And like it saves you a lot of time. Here's a problem I see a lot when you work on more enterprise applications with Power Automate and you have a lot of people working together. For instance, let's say that Kayla and Bill are working together. Kayla built this parent flow, and then Bill had a different task to build this child flow. And because Bill attended this workshop, he knew to use this select statement, thanks to Jamie, and things are going great. And then Kayla says, all right, you know, we got a new requirement. So if we look here, I have TOT name, TOT age, years of coming. Cool. I want to get their age. You know what? I want to show their age. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say the first instructor's name is whatever their name is, and their age is, and I'm going to just copy this. So she wants to add the age to the email. Cool. And then let me select that. I have to zoom out a little. Come on. So let me click. Oh, no, it's not loading. Hold on. There it is. So let's go to the end here, and we're going to do TOT age, right? Let's hit update here, because again, Kayla knows that up here she got all the instructors. So since she has the instructors, she just wants to select the age. It seems totally harmless and totally expected that it would work. Now, here's a little bit of interactivity here. I want you to give me a thumbs up if when I run this again, you think it's going to work. And I want you to give me a clap if you think it's going to fail. All right. So clap or thumbs up, please, inside of there. Appreciate it. All right. We got some claps. We got some thumbs up. We got some undecided people who are clearly watching something else instead of this, or they're just really uncertain because they think I'm going to trick them, which happens a lot. All right. Let's see what happens. We're going to rerun. All right, so it's going to the child flow. The child flow is going to do its job. Bill built this wonderful thing. It looks like everything looks successful here, like, okay. We come down here, and their age is, oh, it's empty. All right, so that's weird. But then we come down here, and then Kayla's like, no, that's weird. I don't want this question mark. I expect age to be there. So let me say that again, and we're going to try this one more time. Like, that's weird. Age is blank. All right. But I expect age to be there. Let's run it again. And then we'll see if I know a few of you voted, but the only one I remember is Jamie's, who said it's going to fail. So we'll see if Jamie is right. All right. So it did fail. Okay. It failed. And it says that, what is it? Age. Oh, I'm blocking it. I'm sorry. Age does not exist. Yes, we're all aware that age is a number, but age is a very real thing. But up here, according to this, it doesn't exist. This doesn't make any sense. Look, here's instructors. We get our instructors. As we know, age is right here. Also, we know that, wait a second, when I ran this flow right here, I totally gave you age. So Kayla is sitting here thinking, hey, Bill, I passed you the age property and all this stuff. What is going on here? Does anyone know? Does anyone know what happened? It's a tricky one. This baffles people all the time. Like, how did age get lost? Any thoughts here? Yeah, Jamie, what you got?
Well, in the child flow, you used the select statement, but you didn't select the age.
Okay, cool. So should we go back to the variable? Let's go back to the variable.
Okay.
Well, will that work?
No, you got to go back further to the select statement.
Okay, let's go to the select statement. This one right here. All right.
Yeah. You're not passing the age in there. Yeah.
All right, so let's go here. Let's continue all aboard on this train. We're going to come down here and we're going to go TOT age. And then we're going to come down here. I'm going to select in here. And then we're going to go here. And then we're going to go item. And then let's go TOT age. Cool. Let's do that. Let's hit add. Let's hit save. And we're going to run this again. And now let's try the same activity. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's going to work. Give me a clap if you think it's going to fail. Jamie just came in and gave Bill some advice. Bill, my complete apologies for picking on you. I hope it's okay. I did not get your consent at all. All right, let's try it again. And we're going to run and see what happens here. And we're going. This is taking a minute. Did it crash, or is it just my browser slow? We'll see in a second. I think it could have been that, let's see, it is, now I think there's a problem with it because then otherwise this is taking way too long to run. Let's back it up and see what's going on in here. All right, cool. It failed. Let's see what went wrong here. I doubt this was Jamie and this was more me. So if we come down here, the language switch T cannot be allowed because property TOT age is not. All right, let's go simplify that. Okay, what exactly happened here? So if we go scroll up here and we look at our original items that came in, we have in here oh, did I spell it wrong? That'd be fun. Come on into here. Let me try this one more time. I want to put this up here just so I don't lose it. And then we're going to select this one. We're going to put this one here. TOT. I think that was it. Let me try this one more time, see if that will work. See what went wrong here. Because in theory, we should have access to it.
I don't think you had a Sorry, I don't think you had the null operator on it. So is it
Oh, I
possible you
didn't?
have a blank value for age?
Yeah, it might be it. All right, let's get in here and get in there and do that. Thank you for calling that one out. That's actually a
No, so,
great call here.
so I think you do now. I think the first time through it did not.
Really, let's see. And you are right on the money. Cool. So we have age here. So now let me let's run this one more time. So I think in that one, I'm curious if I either misspelled it or whether the question mark was off. Oh yeah, because potentially some of them don't have the age. Yeah. So all right, we have it here, and then come on, this totally does have age on it. Let's try it one more time. No, what is happening? Because TOT age doesn't exist. That's weird. We just, oh, is it because yeah. It's because I switched it to the variable instead of the one that we just built, which is the Jamie one. Let's go back here. Cool. There we go. Let's save that, and let's try that one more time and see what happens. Cool. We should be good. Let's try it here. It's funny. I was trying this whole time. I'm trying to make a different point about things breaking, and now I'm actually having to discuss a thing that isn't the thing I wanted to discuss. But whatever, it works. Okay, cool. Let's pretend the last 10 minutes didn't happen. So Kayla's like, all right, so this person doesn't have an age, but it totally does work in theory. So here's the thing, though. Let's just talk about the scalability of this whole problem here. Now what's going to happen is anytime that Kayla wants to come in here and use a new property, she has to now email Bill and wonder, hey, can you please update your flow? So as we get more and more properties, this is really not going to become scalable or maintainable. So let's go in here and talk about this other common principle that a lot of people I see missed all the time, and that is the open-close principle. It comes from, there's a term called solid. It comes from the pro code world, but it basically means that objects are open for extension and closed for modification. What that means is you don't want to remove properties, and you want to be careful modifying ones. What does that look like here? Here's the fundamental problem we made as much as I'm in the wrong one. As much as Bill had really good intentions for this one, and Bill, I'll pick on myself here. Thanks for being the guinea pig for this one. As much as I may have had good intentions when building this, if my process is to keep adding properties here as they appear, like that's not going to scale. And the main rule that I broke is this one. If we look into here, our data came in looking like this. This is what Kayla sent to the flow. Our data comes out looking like this. Unless that's your absolute intention and you're doing it for like performance reasons or something, like unless this is exactly what you wanted to do, most of the time it isn't. Most of the time people just do this because they don't know another way to do it. This is breaking the open-close principle. If the data comes in one way, it should remain the same way. You can add to it, but you should not be removing properties from it. Luckily, there is a way to do this in Power Automate, and that is quite popular if we use our select statement. So we're going to copy this action. I'm going to paste it down here. And all of this like non-scalable mess, we're going to get rid of it. And it's really tempting. I wrote my code this way for a long time until like I realized I'm breaking the open-close principle. So let me go into here. I'm going to get rid of this map. I'm not going to have it help me here. Watch this. I'm going to go into this expression. I'm going to click add property. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I have to select item. That's just how it works. And then the next thing I'm going to do is type in credential status is what I'm going to call it. And then I'm going to select the actual credential status. Where is it? Here it is. And then I'm going to click add. Okay. And make sure that mine isn't invalid in some sort of way. Add property, item, credential status, TOT. I'm not going to worry about why that's wrong because I know I have a working one right here. So let me, in case this happens, I'm going to copy this. Let's get rid of this one. And then I'm going to paste this right here so I don't have to worry about it. Cool. Let's look at this again. Item, credential status. Oh, I was supposed to put the quotes on either end. That was my mistake. And then at the very end here, if we zoom in, I have my credential status from earlier right there. All right. Let me click update, and I'm going to show you how incredibly powerful this is. So I'm going to call this select. I keep picking on Bill, so I'm going to do Bill, amazing job. So we're going to put this one here. And then down here in my results, I'm going to replace it with this one, which is the really good one we just did. And I'm going to hit save. And we're going to run this again. And I want you to notice the difference in terms of what the data started as and what the data ended as. All right. Let me rerun it from the very top of the story. Oh, and by the way, I want to get even more ambitious here. Let's select another property. And their, what else can I select? Their SQL ID. Okay. And their SQL ID is, and then in here, we're going to go in and I don't know if it's like the old designer, but it's like not letting me click stuff dynamically as much anymore. Okay. Vectors, and let's do SQL ID. Very, very cool. And again, look, I'm going to be a little cavalier. I'm going to force it. Like, I don't, oh, you can't see it. I'm not using the question mark parameter. I'm actually forcing it to, like, if it doesn't find it, it's going to crash. That's how much I believe that this is going to actually work. So we have here SQL ID. All right, let me save it. And I think I'm a bit zoomed out, so let me zoom in on it for you right here. Cool. And then just so everyone can see, it looks like that. Cool. So now, Kayla is trying to select this SQL ID property. She has not informed Bill of anything. Bill might not even know the SQL ID property exists, but watch what happens. If we go here and if this actually saved, we are going to now go and try to rerun this. And we're going to see what happens. I'm not going to ask you to do a thumbs up or clap because I've already had enough problems with this demo. So I'm not going to like risk it here. But oh my God, everything worked. Let's go to our email body. Ahmed, their age is 31 and their SQL ID is 7. Wow. So I am now selecting every piece of it. How am I doing that? Let's go back here and look. My data came in looking like this. Ahmed SQL ID. Okay. My data comes out thanks to Bill's awesome code. Name, SQL ID, and at the bottom, credential status. Credential status. So I kept the original property. I added a property to it. I never have to worry about the mess of coming into here and then like trying to keep up and keep adding things. No, no, no. I do add property one time and then I set it and I forget it. I never have to worry about it. That's the open close principle. Any questions on that before I move on to other stuff?
Are you, when you're adding that property, pulling a new field, are you adding it to the parent or to the child?
So in here, I'll run it here. So when you say the parent or the child, my data, this will be easier if I look at this one. The data comes in looking like this. So I passed all of the instructors to the child flow. And then so this is what it started like. This is what the data looks like at the very top of the flow when I passed it in. And then once I do this add property, where is it? There it is. This add property expression on it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
when I get it from what it used to look like to having this as well.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Any more questions before we keep going?
So not a question, but this is the first time I've seen that before. It's really cool. I'm gonna start using that a lot.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. And it's one of those like, it's not necessarily somebody like showed it to me and I was like, oh, cool. It was more like I knew the open close principle and I was just kind of like looking for it. So my main point here is if you know what to look for, it's very easy to find. Awesome. So onwards. Next thing that's also fun is, all right, open close principle. Cool. Have any of you worked with XPath before? Anyone? Okay, we got a few of you. All right, you're about to love it and hate it at the same time. It's going to be great. So watch this. I've got this SharePoint list in here. So all my SharePoint lovers, here's a bone for you. Here's a bunch of instructors' names and the languages they speak. Okay, we're storing this in SharePoint. Why aren't we storing this in Dataverse? Talk to the project managers. I didn't think of this. So the languages spoken are here. The SQL ID is right here. Okay, this SQL ID and these names look very familiar. They look familiar because you already saw them here. Here's our instructors here, and here's their SQL ID here. Why don't the languages exist onto here? I don't know. Someone didn't want to pay for a data migration. I don't know. We can make up the reason. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all of these languages, and we're going to add them to these instructors. We're going to combine them together, and when you see how few actions it is, it should be quite impressive. So let's begin the process out here. All right. So this is the beginning of our operation. The first thing we do is we get all the languages spoken for the given individual. And this would be better if I actually show you what the data looks like. All right. So we get, come on. Oh, I have to click the download button. That's annoying. All right. You've seen this before. You've seen SharePoint. We come down here and then I can find there's the activity name, there's the languages spoken. Okay, it's JSON, we've all seen it before. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come up here and we're gonna convert this all to XML. So this is very simple. You just take a compose statement and then you have to type in just bracket, bracket, and then you type in the word root and you type in array. Why do you have to do it this way? It's just what XML wants. You kind of just got to deal with it. So then the next thing is, once you do that one, the next step we're going to do is we're going to convert it into XML. And when it gets converted into XML is when everyone gets scared because it looks like garbage. And I'm not kidding you. Let's look at it. This is what you get. So it started like this. Here's root array. Okay. And then it turned into this monstrosity. Let's select all of that. And I have this tool called XPath to help me out. All right, let's format it. It's this. It's okay. It's kind of ugly to look at, but maybe there's something here we can do, and there is. So what we can do now is we can actually query this, and it's quite incredible. So if I come up here, and then I select, and let me know if I need to zoom in more, root/array, I have now selected everything in here, but let's zoom in a little bit. Root array, and then I'm going to go and select a property. SQL ID equals, I don't know, let's do 7, and then close it. Do you see that? It's selecting this person. Like that's pretty powerful right there. Let's take it a step further. I'm going to switch it up. 4. Okay, I selected this person now. Here's the thing. I'm selecting their whole object, like their name, their languages spoken, all their stuff. I don't want all that stuff. What I care about is the languages they speak. So what I can do is come up here, do / and then do languages, pretty much this. Can I copy this? Languages, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to pop that into here. There we go. Now I know that person with SQL ID 4 speaks English. Person with SQL ID 7 speaks Spanish. With 6, it's, oh, there is no 6. With 4, it's English. With 2, it's Greek, Arabic, okay? So this is step 1. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of selecting this, hard coding it to the number 2, I'm going to dynamically pick it. So what does that actually look like is if we come down here, I do this concat. Now, to make this actually easier for you to see, I think I have it over here in a PowerPoint slide. I'll show it in a second. The concat, all this does is, instead of me choosing the number 2, it's going to choose the number from our actual list. It's easier to see if you look at the output. So let's skip this next step and open this select join So here's all our data. Here's the person. Here's the SQL ID, blah, blah, blah. It comes out like this. Exactly what we had earlier. In fact, I can copy and paste that. And then I paste that into here. Okay? You see kind of what we're doing here? So what we're going to do now is all of these, where is it? All of these individual joins we just did. So all of these expressions, we're going to go tie them to the right person because this does nothing for you. So let's go over here. And this is just a lot easier if I honestly just show you the PowerPoint or the slide of it, or it's going to be too much of a mess to make sense of. All right. So we are getting the item first, just like we did last time with add property. We're typing in a name called language is spoken, but you can call this whatever you want. Then we're choosing our XML from earlier, and then our concat, what I just showed you where it was like 7, 8, 9, 10, that's what's happening here. But here's the difference is instead of hard coding 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I'm dynamically picking it from the item, and then I'm selecting the language is spoken. This is a little gnarly. I'll leave it up for 2 more seconds. Anyone have any questions about this before I continue? All right. We look, okay. It's super weird at first, but once you like do it once, it starts to make complete sense. But where the magic really happens is once we have the, in the wrong spot again. Once we've done this add property, it's amazing what happens. So let's come into here. And we started with data that looked like this. Here's their age. Here's their SQL ID. Very, very cool. All right. Our output now is, watch this. Age, SQL ID, same stuff. We're not breaking the open close principle. At the very end, look at that. Language is spoken for all of these people right here. We just took data in SharePoint, connected it to data in Dataverse, and we did all that, and I kid you not, 1, 2, 3, 4 actions. Like, that's insane. If you try to do that and apply to each, it's going to take forever. You're going to need to apply to each's, and it's going to be a mess. I know because I tried that a while ago. And honestly, the best part is this one right here, like, we didn't really need to do. We could have done that also in this. So technically, this is like 3 actions. All right. Some of you may still not be impressed, so let me show you something even cooler if we use XPath. If we keep coming down here, we're going to do a little group by. So what does that mean? If we zoom down here, I have a bunch of ratings. So SQL ID 2, who is SQL ID 2? SQL ID 2 is Benicio de la Rocha. I think I combined Benicio del Toro with the singer from Rage Against the Machine. So their SQL ID is 2, SQL ID 2. They got a rating of 4 the first day. So they did a really good job being an instructor. The next day they got a 2. Maybe they were very tired that day. And the next day they got a 5. They were a superstar. All right. We want to group them. We want to take all of, what's his name? All of Benicio's scores, Johnny, all of their scores. We want to aggregate them. We want to summarize them. And then we want to add them to each of their rows individually. Again, the first time I heard of this request in Power Automate, I was thinking like, this is going to be a mess. I don't know how to do it. Like, that's going to be too tricky, but watch. What we can do here is we're going to do step-by-step, very similar to what we did last time. We're going to do our root array, and then we're going to convert it to XML. So what that looks like is we come down here, and it's just this. Here's our original data. And then we do root array. And then at the end of it all, we get this mess of XML. And let me paste that into here. All right. Cool. It's just the XML version of what we saw before. But what I showed you last time is just selecting individual properties like this. We can go a bit further with XML. So what we can do is move this over here. We can come into here and we can type kind of a similar thing. We're going to do root and we're going to do array. And then we're going to do, what is it? SQL / ID equals, I don't know, 5. And then, yeah, we're going to do that. And then we're going to do /, well, let's pause here. why isn't this selecting anything? Does anyone see it? Does anyone see what the problem is?
Is it case sensitive?
Yeah, exactly.
no,
It's case sensitive. Yeah. So see SQL. Exactly. So let's back this up. SQL ID, now we got it thanks to Aiden. So we got this one here, and then let's do one more, and let's do rating. Okay, pretty cool. We just selected all of the ratings for someone with a SQL ID of 5. Let's do 2. Okay, so we got this one. We got a few of these. Cool. Let's do 3. Okay, I think you see the point. That's not really what we want. We don't want this 5, 3, 2. So what I saw before is I would do this, and then people try to add them all up inside of Power Automate. You don't need to do that. Watch this. If we come up here and we type in the word sum, and then we do open this and close that, you see this number 10? It just summarized it. So the sum expression exists here. I can change to 4. Look at that. 7, 6. Like, do you see? It's summarizing them all right there for me. I hope you see where this is about to go. And by the way, if you don't like sum, you're more of like an average person, you know, Pepsi versus Coke. Yeah, it has that too, if that's what you're into. So let's come back here. We're going to do sum, and we're going to follow a very similar process to what we saw earlier. So we're going to come down here, and we have this select, and I really hope I put this in a slide so it's easier for all of you to see. But I didn't, but I'll zoom in. All right. Now, don't be spooked. This is, once you look close, you're going to be like, oh, this is kind of what you already showed us. This isn't that big of a deal. So we have add property, just like last time. Select our item. I'm calling it rating sum. And then XPath, blah, blah, from earlier, concat the sum root array. That should look familiar. It's just this sum root array. It's just the same thing happening right here. But now, instead of selecting the 6 here, I'm doing item TOT SQL ID. I'm making it dynamic, all right? And then I'm taking that and I'm adding that to the original list we had. So what that ends up looking like is we come down here, and at first our data looks like this, where we have, here's our SQL ID, their name, and then here are their languages spoken. Okay? Cool. You saw that, and that was pretty impressive, but we care about those rating sums. Let's see what it is now. Age, name, SQL ID, rating sum. Rating sum. Like, isn't that insane? We not only just matched 2 sets of data, we also aggregated on it. And again, my favorite part of all of this is we did it in 1, 2, this time I actually did it properly, in 3 steps. Like all of that right there, all of that ability in this one tiny place. So what's my point? Not only does this run crazy fast, it uses very, very little code. Cool. Great. Next piece. So glad we did that one. All right. Now, I'm going to take a pause here for 1 second because we're going to do a little vote. I can go show you some, there's a few routes we can take. I can show you a custom connector with C#, so you can see some like fancy C# operations if that's what you're interested in. I could also show you some things that the Graph API can do that's very powerful, especially if you're doing Excel or processing a lot of records. We could even, what else can we do? I got this AI thing that I just cooked up this morning that might be fun. Which do y'all want? Please type it in the chat. We got AI, we got custom connector C#, which you can think of it as C# and Power Automate, or we could do Graph API. All right, Graph AI, or all right, we got some graphs. Everybody wants the graph. Okay, we're halfway. Nobody cares about C#? Oh man. All right. Thank you. All right, so fine, we'll do the graph one. All right, let me throw that up here. Honestly, no group has ever voted for the custom connector ever, which is a shame because it's one of my favorite videos that I've made. All right, let's get into here and explore. All right, so Graph API, by a show of hands, has anyone used it? Like, can you give me a thumbs up if you've actually used the Graph API? We got, okay, so Aiden's got it. JP, have you touched it? Yeah, not surprised. Okay, Jamie's got it. Mark, have you used the Graph API? Okay, no. What about the other Mark? Molesworth, maybe? All right. So the Graph API, if we hop into here and we type in Graph API, what this does is, oh, this is a poor one. Let's do Graph API Explorer. I think that's what it is. So this is a great one if you've never used it. You can come up here and start trying to make queries with it. It connects to Excel. It connects to Microsoft Teams. What is it? The Graph API is pretty much the main Microsoft API to all of their systems, from Excel to Teams to SharePoint to pretty much everything. When you go into here, and if I type in like SharePoint, all of these Power Automate actions, they're just using Graph API behind the scenes, and they made these really nice actions for you to use. What does that mean? It means that everything that you see in Power Automate, almost everything is a Graph API action. But what that also means is every single thing that's a Graph API action might not be in Power Automate. So if you use the Graph API, you have more powers than Power Automate. It's kind of like a rectangle is a square, but a square is, I don't even know how to finish that sentence, but I think you know what I'm saying. I forget which one is which, but let me show you what I'm talking about. I can come down here and I can do a Graph API request that's like, show me all the websites into here. But I can do something else. Watch this. Graph API SharePoint search. I think it's this one. And there it is. You can type in a name of your SharePoint site, use the Graph API, and it's going to go show you all the sites in SharePoint that match that name. Trivia question, can you do that in Power Automate? Good question. I'm not sure. Every time I say that, I always have to like double check that they didn't build it so I don't embarrass myself. But if we come in here into SharePoint, no, you get nothing like that. That's kind of my point, that the Graph API gives you more powers. So here's what else we can do. Oh, and by the way, Mark, I didn't forget your question about concurrency. I will answer it now way later. So we have this problem right here. We have this list in Excel. And what we want to do is we want to take all of these activities, geocaching, tennis. We want to take all of these activities and we want to add them to this Excel spreadsheet. So what we can do is, if we come down here, and we're not going to use the Graph API yet. In fact, I'm going to go turn it off to make, okay, it's disabled. Good. We're going to come down here and we're going to one at a time run it. And then Mark had that awesome question, which I've asked myself, which is, wait a second. Why wouldn't I come into here on the settings and turn this up every time? Why isn't that the default? Why isn't that what I want to do? Doesn't that make sense? It makes sense to me. I thought they should be doing this until like I tried to actually play with it, and you'll see right now why this happens. So let's run this. Is this saved? It's saving. Okay, I'm gonna run this, and we're gonna see what happens. By the way, Aiden, how much time do I have? Am I like done in 10 minutes? I'm kicked off the stage.
You can keep going if you want.
Okay. We'll see. If y'all want more stuff, happy to show it. All right. So this took about 3 seconds to run, 2 seconds per record. Okay, and what do we get? All right, cool. So it worked. We think it looks fine, but hold on. Does anyone see a problem here? Something is weird here. Who wants to point out what the problem here is? Your users are going to find it right away. Something is off. Any guesses? I'm not calling out Aiden again because he's crushed everything. Cheryl, any thoughts? JP, Risky, Mark, Bill, Kayla, Mark again. And then, oh, I would really want to try to pronounce, is it just Marcel? Is that how you pronounce it? Well, I hope I'm right. I hope I pronounced it right. All right. Nobody sees it yet? Or I'll show you. It's probably because I'm not being fair to you. I didn't show you the original data. The original data looks like this. Okay. So we have this. We have this. We have this. Okay. And then now we have this. All right.
Water.
It's not sorted.
Yeah, water.
Exactly. JP and Mark just nailed it. It's out of order. Mark, that is why you don't want to, you do not want this on by default, because the downside of that is, yes, it's very fast, but it's fast because it's not going one at a time. It's going 50 at a time, so you never know which one goes where. Excellent question. Very happy. I actually had a demo to actually showcase that. So let's delete all this, and we're going to do it one more time. But now what we're going to do is we're going to use the Graph API. So zooming in here, Graph API. What are we doing? So this makes more sense if I actually go into here and type in Graph API, Excel, workbook, I don't know, update. Let's see what happens. I think this is the one, get a session.
Yeah, Sean, we lost your audio.
Now am I back? All right.
Yeah,
Is
we
the
got you
audio worse because this fancy microphone I bought, I guess, is now dead? Oh, that was fun. All right.
Yeah, you sound good.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Aiden. So yeah, it's just values and then the thing I had from right here. That's all I need to do. There is one wonkier part, which is what is this gobbledygook sites and the ID and the workbook ID. Remember how I told you down here, I get more access via the Graph API. So with the Graph API, what I can do is I can make a request to find all my websites. I can make it to find specific files. I can also, when I find the specific files, I can find the workbook ID. So I found all those things because I just made these calls. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call the Graph API, and I'm just going to pass in this right here. And then you're going to really see the power of what it can do. So let me go here under settings and testing. We're going to enable it now. Okay, it's nicely enabled. And if you want to know how I did it, this is what I think is very cool. HTTP. No, not that. There it is. HTTP with Microsoft Entra ID. That means pre-authorized. That means you don't have to go get authorized by the Graph API. It could just use the existing connection, which is pretty cool. It saves you one action. So I have this here. I'm going to hit save. And then we're going to rerun this. And I'm going to keep this on just so we have a compare and contrast. All right, let me run this again. All right, let's see how this goes. All right, 3 seconds, not bad. 8 seconds, so this is obviously a lot longer, plus 1 second per record. And what do we got? Ooh, look at that. That looks in order, doesn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When we use the Graph API, not only is everything in order, but it also took a lot less time to run, and it used a lot less code. You're really winning in every category. And then if we keep scrolling, things go completely out of order because we're getting into that kind of the concurrency problem with Excel. So there's that one there. And yeah, the Graph API, incredibly powerful. Now, some of you, I'm sure, are like very Dataverse people. So, oh, James, thanks for, Jamie, thank you for adding the Graph API documentation there. Dataverse, this is more fun if I actually have an example here for you. Do I have it? Man, I should really get it. Let me open it up here. Let me go to .powerapps.com because we're kind of running low on time, but I'm going to blow through this last one here. So in Dataverse, let me go to the environment where it lives. And then I'm just going to speed this up and we're going to go into tables. Let's go to task. There's task. Cool. And then I'm going to, I should have records here already. All right, I'm going to, where is I think it's in here. I want to just pretty much like remove all of these. There used to be, I think I could still, can I still select all of them? Great. And then I'm going to delete these all. Cool. They're going and getting deleted. I hope they're deleted. Refresh. They're gone. Great. They're gone. All right. Let's look at Dataverse for a second. So I'm going to open this tab up here. And then if we go down here, I'm doing a very similar thing from last time, except, and just to give you the documentation, what is it? Batch create Dataverse records. Oh, there's my video. If you can watch that if you want, if you don't remember what I'm saying here. Let's go down here. What we want to do is we want to create something like this, where here are your individual tasks right here, or your individual records. You could do this where instead of task, you could do contact, you could do account, you could do whatever you want. The key thing that you need to do is you need to have a GUID, which is just a unique number that Power Automate can make for you. And you just have to put this at the top. And otherwise, you have to copy all of this. It looks like intimidating, but not really. Let's put this here. And then I'm going to tab this over here just so we have this to look at. And then if we actually look at the run, what we're doing is I'm getting a bunch of files in SharePoint, and I'm going to create them as tasks in Dataverse. So all I'm doing is I'm doing this append string, and look at that. It's just the same thing. Batch, and then GUID, which is this. Content type, content transfer, post, API. It's just the same stuff. That's all I'm doing. I'm just copying it over here. All right. And then the last thing I'm doing, I am using an apply to each. You can use a select and do this and make it a lot faster, but I didn't want to confuse anyone here. And at the very end, I just have to put this item at the top. Let me show you an actual run of this, because then it'll make more sense once I show you. So at the very end of all of this, cool. As you can see here, all I did was recreate this this text here. So post OData, post OData. Look at there. That my subject name is vector files, or it's called marketing, whatever it was. And I just made the same thing here. Now, what I'm going to do is, instead of doing an apply to each loop to create these, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to resubmit it. We'll see if this works. I haven't actually tested this in a while. And all right, it's getting all my SharePoint files. It's looping them. And then it ran it. Look at that. It just sent a bunch of records to Dataverse in 0.7 seconds. And then this only is cool if the records actually appear here. I'm going to hit refresh. Ta-da, there they are. So in 0.7 seconds, I shoved a bunch of data into Dataverse, and I did that all in, it took a few actions, but it ran it ran much faster than if I didn't apply to each into Dataverse. So that's the main stuff I had for you. I have like some other stuff I can talk about. I can answer some questions, but Aiden, I wanted to be respectful of time.